Greetings and salutations, my peoples. The one and only Showing Up the King here, and I am here to bring you my review for The Walking Dead Season 3, Episode 7. Before I jump into this review, let me just tell you, I'm very active in Get Glue. I don't know if you guys have followed me on Twitter or seen my activities on Get Glue, but I talk about this show a lot on there. As I actually do like a lot of live tweeting as I'm watching the episode. And this show is just so good. Like, seriously, this show needs to be longer than an hour. Like, it literally is one of the best shows on TV right now. And this episode is no different. It's just so good. It's so good. This episode picks up off where the last episode ended with Merle kidnapping Glenn and his girlfriend and taking them back to Woodbury to be questioned about where Rick and the group is been staying. This episode actually starts off with Merle interrogating Glenn, and one thing I want to say about this episode is, Glenn, you get a round of applause from me personally, because you, my friend, are a freaking badass. Glenn took an ass beating from Merle. Merle actually sicked a zombie on a tied up Glenn. Glenn managed to not only stave off the zombie, but ended up killing it after breaking his own restraints and stabbing it in the head with a piece of the wood chair that he was stuck to. I mean, Glenn, he definitely gets the Badass of the Week award, and he actually also gets the Zombie Kill of the Week award, in my humble opinion. You know, this episode also showcased just how freaking creepy the fucking governor is. Like, this dude is like psychotic, nutball, crazy perv. Like, this guy, of course, he has Glenn's girlfriend in the other room, and he's interrogating her. He's interrogating her for all of 30 seconds before he's like, take your shirt off. She's like, no. He's like, well, I'll go bring Glenn's hand in here right now. Take your shirt off. So, you know, she has to pull off her shirt. You know, she's got a nice little body. She's a nice little tight self. You know, she's a little skinny. But, you know, she's cute. You know, and he's like, continue. You know, she takes off her bra. You know, she's all scared. And she's like, oh, my breast. Oh, no, you mean man. You know, and I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, yo, what the fuck is he doing? Like, don't go there, man. Just don't. Don't you already have Andrea? I'm like, what are you doing? So then he gets up from his chair and he gets behind her. And, you know, I'm just like, oh my God, he's going to rape her. Oh my God, you know, this is like Rape Shack Central. This is going to happen. Of course, he slams her on the table. And, you know, then she becomes a badass. And she's just like, you know, do what you got to do or whatever, you know, just like basically calling him out on it. So again, of course, you know, he stops, or so we think. And, you know, it kind of ends there with this innuendo that did he rape her? Did he not rape her? It's crazy. So, you know, of course, she was crying and everything. And, you know, the whole thing was just horrific. And it just goes to show you that this guy, the governor, is not all bells and whistles and just looking for the happiness of the world. This guy is a sick ball nut job perv. And he needs to be killed immediately. So the interrogation situation is going on. Andrea is still living in La La Land. That was probably the one downside to this episode. Andrea, she literally had this like side quest where she went to go help the one guy go check on the dead body of the other guy. He wants to try to make sure that zombies actually don't have any consciousness after they die. And it was just kind of weird, because the whole time, you know, he's like asking them questions, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, where is he going with this? So it took a while for me to even realize that what he was trying to do was try to, you know, find out if after they die, do they keep any bits of their own memory. And of course, Andrea knew that this is not the case. I mean, she's seen too many walkers die, and they all lose themselves and they turn into monsters. That's just how it is. But you know how you always have that one ignorant asshole who doesn't know anything? He doesn't know dick. And, you know, he's sitting there like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm smart. And she's just like, look, dude, if you take this restraint off, he's going to lunge at you. He's not going to lunge at me. We've had coffee together. And, of course, you know, he takes the restraint off. And, of course, the zombie lunges at him and almost kills him, and she saves him by stabbing him in the brain, killing him. So, that kind of ended that whole Andrea thing. That was pretty much the only real relevance she had in this episode. The biggest part of this episode actually came from the prison, and it picks up where we left off with Michonne showing up at the prison, still reeking of zombie smell. And what ends up happening is Rick is just like staring at her, and of course Michonne has this issue. I don't know what her deal is. She has this chip on her shoulder, and it just messes with her brain functions, because she could have completely avoided half of that situation by not being an asshole. So Michonne is staring at Rick, holding the basket full of formula, and says nothing. Like, nothing. And Rick is just like, hey, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, what's going on? Nothing. So then she feels her hip, and, she brings her hands up to her face, and she has blood all over her hand. And then the walker is happy to turn in her direction and realize, hey, this chick ain't no zombie. She is a human. So then they all, of course, turn on her. And, she gets a couple of good zombie kills in there, but then she finally passes out and succumbs to her wounds. And, her vision is very blurred. And then luckily, Rick's son comes in and rescues Michonne. He picks her up and brings her on the inside, brings her on into the prison, and, he has her, gives her a bottle of water, gives her a blanket. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, this guy didn't kill you. He brought you inside, and he's even offered her to fix your wounds. Maybe you should tell him why you're there. Michonne, nothing. I didn't ask for your help. Don't you die. Get the hell away from me. I'm like, chick, you went this entire way to find them, and then you get there and you act like an asshole. It was just so frustrating to me, because I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to flush the story out. You don't want all the secrets to come out just yet. I get that, but you got to make it a little bit more believable. Because, again, no one in any real-world situation is clearly, you came there for a reason. You were either looking for help, or you were trying to figure out what's going on. So you were trying to do the right thing. Why would you just get there and then act like an asshole? It makes no sense to me. So, of course, Michonne, keeps up her little persona. I'm a badass and I don't need anybody, even though I really need you. And, she finally says, she finally makes out, some guy kidnapped your friends and took them away, and he also shot me. And of course, she didn't manage to say, hey, it was a one-armed guy and his name was Merle. She just managed to say that, hey, someone took your friends and, they took them to Woodbury. And, of course, that makes Rick pissed. He's like, where is he? What's going on? And they draw their guns on her. And I will say that, that was pretty stupid of Rick, too. I'm just like, if this chick is telling you something happened to your people, why would it be the first thing you do is pull your weapon on her? I'm like, that's going to make her want to tell you everything. Think, people. I'm like, try a little tenderness. Just try a little tenderness. It's like, nah, let me stop. So basically, they're going through their whole turmoil, trying to figure out what's going on. Eventually, they patch Michonne up, and she decides to tell them about Woodbury and the governor. Yet again, still forgets to mention the fact that she was traveling with Andrea. You know what? I can understand her not mentioning Andrea, only because that's not a really big tidbit that needs to be talked about. Even though I'm pretty sure that Andrea told her extensively about the group she was with. I know Michonne has to know something about him. So the fact that two and two didn't click together is still a little bit weird to me, but I'm willing to let that slide. But what I'm not willing to let slide is the fact that she didn't at all bring up the fact that Merle was the one that took them or anything. And the fact that none of them asked any further questions about who took them. Because again, my question would have been, you tell me someone took my people. I'm like, who was it? What was that person? What did they look like? Give me a description, something. No, they were just like, all right, we're going to go get our people. I don't care what the person looks like. I don't care. I don't need to know any of that information. So, it was just a little weird. Carl gets left behind with Herschel and Herschel's daughter and, Carol and, the baby. So they're still at the prison. Rick, T-Dog's twin, Daryl, they all, and Michonne, they all go out to try to save Glenn and, his girlfriend from Woodbury. So they're driving off and they're armed to the teeth. As their journey starts, they make it to this random house and there's this incident with some rando dog that died, and there's some crazy man in the apartment and in the building, and he didn't know what was going on, and then he got fed to some zombies. It was kind of gruesome. Like, that was a really gruesome kill of a human being. That was almost as worse than T-Dog, because it was like they were painting finger painting his body, was blood everywhere. It was just some crazy shit. Overall, like I said, the episode was very solid. I'm going to give it an 8.9 out of 10. Really enjoyed the episode. The episode actually ends with them making it to Woodbury and them getting ready to infiltrate the area. And there was also a quick glimpse of the new characters they're introducing from the comics. There was a scene where the guy walks off the top of the little, platform area. He had a bow and arrow. They just introduced him there. They didn't actually say who he is, but he's supposed to be another major character that was brought in from the comics. We'll probably hear about him in the mid-season finale next week. Andrea also is out there. She ended up going back to the governor, but she was outside. And so, again, next episode from the previews that I saw, the shit's going to hit the fan. Rick's group is going to get into an altercation with the governor's group, and it looks like Andrea may run into them. There may be some shots fired. I don't know what's going on. It should be very, 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 very interesting. I cannot wait till next week. But again, I want to hear what your guys' thoughts was on this episode. Were you as upset with Michonne's off-putting ability to not tell them what's going on? Were you as excited about Glenn and his badassness in general? I'm actually going to title this episode about how badass Glenn was. Like, he was the highlight to this episode for me. I really thought that his character was very flushed out this episode. He is all about protecting his group. Oh, you know what, by the way, that was a major point that I forgot to mention. The governor brought, Glenn's girl back into the room. She was crying. She was holding herself clearly like she was raped. And, he basically said, hey, I'm going to kill one of you if you don't tell me where the group is. So, of course, Glenn's girlfriend decided to tell them, hey, they're at the prison. And, the governor actually thought to himself that was kind of weird, because he was like, what do you mean they're at the prison? The prison was covered in walkers. Merle, you told me that it was impossible to clear it out. You're trying to tell me that a group of 10 people did it on their own? So I think the governor is a little nervous about the group, because, again, and I think Merle was as well, because, again, Glenn said, look, we are not pushovers. We've been on a road. We know what we're doing. And these guys are good. They are some killing. They can kill some walkers. So it'll be really interesting what's going to happen. Because we all know what happens in the comics. But I think that the way that the show is going is taking a completely different step, which is cool. Because actually, I don't like what happens in the comic when it comes to the whole prison thing. So I'm looking forward to the way you see how the TV show handles it. And we'll see what goes from there. But you know what time it is. Let's hear what you thought about the episode. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe to my videos. This is Sean of the King, the one and only. And you guys have a fantastic night.